Well, we doing another VHS and memories. We decided to go on for Fight Club. So yeah, this is kind of our little take on that VHS and memory style on Fight Club. So yeah, I'll just read the little description. It says disconnected with a capitalistic lifestyle, a white-collared insomniac forms an underground fight club with Tyler, a careless soap salesman. The project soon spirals down into something more sinister. Released October 15, 1999. This movie flopped terribly in theaters. It did, but it gained a huge cult following on VHS and all that. But and also Oprah, if I didn't know that, Oprah, she spoiled the movie before it came out. So on national television, when everyone was still watching television in 1999, yeah, she kind of, I don't think that killed the movie, but she did say the main spoiler of the movie.
Great.
Yeah, but you really never seen this movie, or?
No, I never saw it until today.
And you never saw the like the huge big twist or whatever. Like
No,
you never heard anyone mention that in reference or
no,
anything.
no, no, not
Wow.
at all. I was just as surprised as everybody who saw it for the first time.
No way.
Yeah,
Perfect.
for sure, for sure.
Perfect. Really.
Yeah. No, I didn't know anything about the movie. I did because I didn't care because I'm like Brad Pitt is annoying to me. So I would be like, well, why would I want to know anything about this if Brad Pitt's in it?
Hmm.
And surprisingly enough, he was it was a good role, a very good character uh,
Yeah,
in the
he
movie.
played Tyler Durden. Yeah, he
Mm.
I think this is one of my favorite Brad Pitt roles. I remember I didn't mind him. I just never liked him because he was in more sappy girl movies as a kid. And yeah, I remember there's a other movie, True Romance. I think it was written by Quentin Tarantino. It wasn't shot by him.
Yeah,
Had Chris later in it, but in that they go in and they see Brad Pitt's playing a character who's a total hippie with long hair, and he's smoking out of a honey bear, marijuana out of a honey bear jar.
right, right.
I just thought as a kid, I thought like that's cool, it's a honey bear or whatever. But yeah, no. So, but yeah, like I liked him in a couple things, but this I was like, I'm not a big Brad Pitt person myself, but I liked Edward Norton as a kid.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't even
Narrator.
really, I can't place like where I know he's been in other movies that I've
American
seen.
History X. Have
Okay,
you ever
yeah.
seen that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there we go. That's where I've seen him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was like he held the movie together. Like it was all him.
Mhm. No, 8.8 out of 10, 79 on, or 8.8 out of 10 on IMDb, and then yeah, 79 out of Rotten Tomatoes. So, you know, people do like this movie. It's just like, yeah, it just people didn't really understand it. It didn't like even the trailers and previews for this movie didn't really like get you into theaters.
Well, that's the thing is how do you advertise this movie? Because what is it? It's not about one thing. So you can't be like it's very character driven. It's not like it's a really strange film. Like I didn't expect any of this. Like the first act, the first third of the movie is kind of hard for me to get through because it's the usual hodgepodge of scenes trying to set things up. But that last third, the last act is incredible. Again, like it's just like this is where the movie comes together. Like everything
Uh,
comes together in that last act.
yeah,
It's
I know. I like the beginning though, actually, because I like how it's all about like single serving life and like that
Mhm.
capitalistic, and he's narrating everything. I always thought it was like it had me always from the go. This
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, I kind of felt like it didn't know what it was. I thought it didn't know what it was
Yeah,
with the
at first
narration and
time, first
the
time, yeah,
yeah, it's like, okay, where's this
I
movie
forgot
going?
that.
Because sometimes he's narrating and sometimes he's not. And then,
Hmm.
by halfway through the movie, they're breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the camera.
Hmm.
And so and both characters are talking directly to the camera.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
like, what's going on? Like it's a very self-aware movie.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a self-aware time too, 90s like that, end of 90s, and yeah, the movie's self-aware. Um, and yeah, that's why like yeah, you're like thrown off. Like it's like he's talking to this. You're like narration in movies can kind of be cheesy, but just the way they do it and they pull it off. But Yeah, he's just like the whole beginning where he's like certain dining set, the capitalists, like all the, you know, just the marketing and buying and consuming, and then Jay meets Tyler on the plane, and Tyler's like this interesting character with soap, and he's a soap salesman. He's an interesting character, and then Edward, the narrator, he goes back home after the flight, and his apartment is blown up, and
Hmm.
it's all over the street. The apartment's like everywhere, and he has no one to call. He doesn't know that. Well, before that, he's getting into those groups too with Marla. He's getting into the, what do you call those groups?
Support groups.
Yeah, it's the support groups, and he's becoming like what, a fake in support groups because he's an
Yeah,
insomniac, and that helps him sleep.
yeah, he's feeding off of other people's misery so that he can feel better. Like it's an amazing, like there was one of those parts in the thing where I'm like, where is this going? Where, like, how is this going to progress into something that's a movie? Like,
Hmm.
and of course they just kind of ditch that whole concept. Like it's
Yeah,
just
well, that's how he was coping before. Like,
hmm,
Tyler was being subconsciously made, and like, yeah, that was like how he coped, but he needed to change. And then, yeah, like, so he was either gonna call that Marla back, or I think he called her and hung up on her, and then
yeah.
he had Tyler's soap card, and he calls Tyler up, like, my apartment just got blown up. Would you maybe want to meet for some drinks and chill or something?
Yeah.
And then yeah, they're at the bar, and then it's like there's so many subjects in the movie, like with them and like the different types of masculinity and all the man stuff.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like the whole setup with the relationship between Tyler and Edward Norton there. It's completely homoerotic. Like
Yeah,
the
the
whole.
book is too, like by the Chuck Palahniuk or whatever, the guy who wrote it.
Mhm.
It's more, the book's more on the gay side for sure.
And I was like, where's this going? Where's this going? Like it's so like but it's weird that way. And then of course you realize where it's going in the last third of the movie, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, okay. Hmm.
But still, yeah, like, yeah, and but it does have something to say. Like, I think they kind of like, I've seen so many theories about the movie too, like how, like, when they're talking at the bar and stuff, and like, his job, like, kind of like, and women, they're talking about like how they grew up by women too, and like, like they're kind of like their manhood is being softened by like kind of even his job, like, demasculated or whatever.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
And it's like kind of like, and I kind of like that. I liked it as a kid in a weird way because I had questions about gender and stuff, and I still like it. Like I do find like male, whatever, masculinity interesting because I like how aggressive it can be and just dynamic. It's more action based.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, for me, I like those undertones, and for me it's so weird. As a kid, I used to relate so much more to like Edward because he was such like a soft, like pushover like type as a male,
Oh,
and
for
that's
sure.
totally how I used to be. So it's like now that I'm like more confident, like I feel like I relate more like to Tyler Durden. I'm like, have I created my own like fake self? But but no, but yeah, it's just interesting to see the two sides more.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting because the Edward Norton character is such like a wet blanket. Like you
Right?
don't expect, like when I saw him as the main character, I'm like, how are they, like, this guy, how is he going to carry the film? Like this guy, I don't buy any Fight Club thing with this guy in it. Like it's like, how is this guy gonna? And then it just works. Like
Hmm.
it just works so well because I mean, like it's the you have the two sides to the same person with Tyler and him, and you don't realize that it's two sides to the same person. So
Hmm.
it plays like it's a great juxtaposition to each other, that they are both polar opposites to each other,
Hmm.
but but they're not, right? They're
Hmm.
not.
Yeah, it's so interesting how they work together. I like both of them together. I like how he's like learning the ways of Tyler, trying to be like cooler, and like he thinks Tyler's the man, and like it's
Mhm.
just so interesting. And then like he blows up that apartment, and then what Tyler says like, you don't know anything about yourself if you don't never been in a fight. So he's like, he
Yeah,
makes him and Norton beat each other up, but that's
yeah.
actually just him beating himself up in a parking lot. Because
Hmm.
the big twist of the movie is like, Tyler Durden is an imaginary guy. It's a figment of his imagination or whatever. So, but yeah, they get in that first fight and they kind of like bond over that. They kind of Tyler lets him come stay at his house, which is just so terrible. It's like this rundown place that Tyler has or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it just like it from that moment on, the movie, that's when the movie begins, from basically the moment that they walk into that dilapidated house is like that's where
Mm.
the plot of the movie starts progressing like into that weird spiral of insanity that happens after that. Like up to that point, everything's just so normal. Like, and like his life, the narrator's life is so normal right up until that point.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think they go in that house and I can't remember the next time we talked to him. Oh yeah, Marla calls one time on the phone, and then Tyler goes and see her. But it's just he's in that house, and like, well, they start building up the fight clubs because I think people see them fighting in the parking lot
Hmm.
after,
Yeah,
and then then they join in, and then they get the first. It's all about the fight club ring,
yeah, yeah.
and it
It's
starts getting into that for the first time, after the house,
Yeah, and I mean, even still, that element of the movie is inexplicable to me because, like, I don't understand the, fighting each other just to feel alive kind of
I
scenario. Like,
get it. No, I feel deep into that stuff. Yeah, no, I get it. Like, it's something about like proving your manhood. I know it sounds so bad, but like I said, like for some reason, like I grew up so '90s in that era that like it's just that's what it meant, kind of. Like it's just that raw, like raw fighting, and they think it's about manhood, which it couldn't be, I guess, because it is testosterone based. I'm guessing, but.
yeah.
Yeah, but I do like it. I do like the concept for that because I don't think it's been explored that much in movies and with men. And I do feel like, it brings them up a bit because they're so pushed down. For them to like come to that term to get all that out, they gotta be really manly at what they think is and fight and do all this stuff. But
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's them fighting and then being bros on the other
yeah,
side, like, and just like the fight has nothing to do with their relationship,
yeah,
and it's so odd the two different sides of the character where like the the narrator's talking about Tyler like he's like almost like his wife, like it's so crazy about how he was having the conversation with the Marla there about his relationship with Tyler and how he's kind of jealous of her in a way,
yeah,
and
yeah. He is. Yeah,
it's like you just kind of like what's going on here? There's
he's double
this,
jealous. Yeah.
yeah, there's this, and then there's the scenes where he's in a basement beating people up, and it's like you get these weird. It's such a weird like concept. Like you just kind of have to roll with it because if you try and like dissect it, it just becomes this weird. I don't know, really weird. Uh, I don't know what was going. Like it's it's an amazing like relationship that they're having.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's so weird. Yeah, it is like they're in a relationship because me and my ex were like that. Because I was like, as a male, I was like that guy. I was so beta. Like someone like would talk through me right in front of people. Like my ex would tell me something, like I'd tell her to say to someone like in front of them, And that's like
Hmm.
I kind of feel like he's doing that, or like it's some up thing like that. Like, Tyler's talking for him right in front of someone and they don't question it, and you don't really question it because it's like, oh, they're like in some sort of relationship, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I know there is the weird dynamic relationship between them that, yeah, it's funny. But like when he's in the bath, Tyler's in the bath, and they're just talking about all that, like kind of having like a girl talk.
No, exactly, for sure.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so they build up the Fight Club, and then yeah, I guess Tyler, after he starts giving the people extra missions to do after the fight, and they start Project Mayhem. And Project Mayhem, you do not ask questions. You know, the first rule of Fight Club is you do not um what is it? I've
You
seen this
don't
movie a
talk
thousand
about you
times.
don't
Yeah.
talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, yeah, I got it all backwards. And then yeah, and then Project Mayhem, you do not ask questions. So yeah, so it goes from Fight Club to this Project Mayhem where like, you know, they're recruiting people, they're making them shave their heads, they're making them there's a weird, I don't know, like I think people said like kind of Tyler, he's kind of like a Hitler fascist in a way because you know like everyone's the same, they're a clone, they you know they get this expression of freedom with some stuff, but then like how they work as a unit, it's like a cult, right?
Yeah, it's very cult-like, and I mean, they don't really get too deep in how the operations work in this cult, but you understand that like these guys want to be a part of something. They like the idea of being a part of something. They're already part of, you know, like they're beating each other up, so they're already like bros, and like, you know, they understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. So they're all there like they're working together. For them is just the next step in this Fight Club scenario. Like,
Yeah, that's the next step is this like recruitment. Every like you know they're all living in that dilapidated house. Like you know they start like recruiting people like to stand outside for 3 days
mm-hmm,
and get these people in the house. You know, and they call them space monkeys. You know, like it's just
mm-hmm.
like there's just like you know, and like the people experiencing this, they're like you know they're just like I think you know they see the one guy as the one guy, the narrator, and then they see the Tyler Durden side in him, right? So they don't really always 100% know which guy he is, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And they the being a part of something, you know, they're all like just you know, like white collar, blue collar, white collar workers, you
ambulance
know, like
drivers,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that whole society together.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And finally they're able to make a difference, you know, so and like control their destiny, you know, and the only way to control their destiny is to like be a paramilitary group
Hmm.
and do crazy things like
Hmm. Yeah. And Tyler, like, yeah, I guess he's trying to make a statement with all that, right? And
mhm.
like his things seem cruel and like kind of like, you know, but they do have an upright side. Like when they go to that convenience store and Tyler puts a gun to someone's head outside the back and like, but he's just doing it to inspire the person, you know, so giving them like, you know, you almost died, but now you can go to school and stuff and like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like trying to do this good thing, but it's just a twisted Tyler sort of way.
Yeah, that was a great scene because I knew there was that he wasn't going to kill him. Like I knew what was happening in that scene, and it's like one of those lesson scenarios where, you know, the narrator he didn't understand what was going on, but like it's obvious that you need to make people see their potential.
Project Mayhem, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and you know what's his name? That guy, that Jared Leno. He like it's like you know as Project Mayhem gets on, he thinks Tyler is having kind of like you know like a bit of a like a really good buddy relationship with Jared Leno. You know, the
Yeah,
blonde-haired guy or
yeah,
whatever, the
yeah, yeah,
Joker or whatever, and like yeah,
yeah.
what's his name gets really like jealous of that, the narrator, aka Edward, and yeah, they go into a fight. They're having a regular fight club fight, and that guy he just destroys that guy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He totally beats Jared's face in.
Yeah, yeah. He finally lashes out and lets all of his frustration come out on one guy, breaking all the rules of the Fight Club right there.
Totally.
You
And no
know,
one really questions it because they're like, he's the man, he's Tyler himself, but it isn't.
yeah.
But yeah, and Project Mayhem, I guess like it goes so big, like I find that part weird too, like to fund Project Mayhem as Tyler Durden sends everyone out on to do certain tasks. Edward Norton goes to his boss and like he beats up himself in front of his boss to like blackmail them to give them money to run everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that fight scene, I love that fight scene, man. Like I just
Well,
loved it when he beats himself up in there. I think it's so good. I love it. It's one of my
yeah,
favorite things
the
ever.
non-fight scene, the
Hmm.
the one-person fight scene where the boss is just standing there looking at him like he's
Hmm.
crazy.
Hmm. He's
Yeah.
throwing himself into shelves, into glass. I just think it's so well done. Like I said, this movie impacted me a lot as a kid. Like I dressed up as this stuff. I don't know why. Like I made my room into an office. Like I was obsessed with this movie. Obsessed. Like crazy obsessed.
Yeah,
Crazy obsessed.
and I never saw it because I was stubborn and didn't like Brad Pitt. So,
Yeah, well, my friend forced me to watch it. He was like, because I had the same thing too. I was like, I don't want to watch Brad Pitt, and they're like, no, no, like let me tell you about it, and you'll be interested. And like my friend walked me through the whole movie, and it changed my life. This used to be one of my favorites. It's still up there. It's just like how the social media aspect isn't in there. Like this movie couldn't really exist, or like the take on it with social media would be so different.
Oh yeah, no, there's whole elements of this movie that rely on the fact that there is no social media.
Totally, right? So it's more jarring and it does seem dated in a way to me because of that. But I mean, movies are going to be dated, and I don't. It's the '90s. I love the '90s. I love a simpler time. But I'm just saying, there's something jarring about it that like I didn't notice, like 10 years ago when I used to watch it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, like because I lived through the era of no social media, to see a movie like this, it doesn't really I don't really realize that there's nothing like that in it
Hmm.
until, maybe there'll be all of a sudden I'll be like in a movie nowadays he'd be on his cell phone, like at a certain point. But now in this, it's like they're still on pay phones, and it's like,
Hmm.
wow, it does seem dated. I guess I would imagine if someone was 20 now and they watched it, they'd be
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. Yeah, yeah,
eh,
you reflect like that. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, like the whole soundtrack act
Oh, it's so
thing,
dated.
so dated with that loud driving like club music
I
through.
know.
It's just
Even
like,
that song at the end.
yeah, it's just like this is so like of its time. Like it really, like, I as soon as I started watching it, it just I was literally like sitting back in, 2001 watching this in my mind, because it's
Hmm.
like, yeah,
No,
that's
I
about
liked
when I
it
would
too.
have seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I saw it a couple years later, I think, but in someone's garage. But it was yeah, yeah. It's just like I said, it's just something about my mind that like it is jarring because it's such a socialist or social type of movie, and like it's trying to have this impact, and then like there's no social media. I know it sounds weird, like I guess I lived without a lot of social media too, but there's just an element that I'm like, it just I think about it, and I'm like, oh, this is before then or something, right? But and then I think of about a movie like Fight Club. I don't know if that someone could write with how technology is today. That'd be kind of interesting, but
Yeah, I mean the thing is like you couldn't have a secret organization.
hmm,
It's
not like
like
that. Yeah.
no, no, there'd be no way, because at some point you'd be able to just Google it, and
Hmm.
there you go. There's
Hmm.
Fight Club on the
Yeah,
Google.
Fight Club on Google.
Like you can't talk about it. Well, people take pictures of their meal and put it on the Facebook now. So even the most minute nonsense is broadcast everywhere. This would never be able to happen
Hmm.
in a modern world.
No, for sure. So yeah, it's a timepiece now. But yeah, like you said, just if you're 20 and you saw it, it might be like, you wouldn't get it as much, or it'd be even more removed. I think that's the part with it. It's just like before when you'd see it, it's like, oh, this is now, this is like this is applicable to situations. But now when you look at it, it's like kind of lost
Yeah.
its funk that it used to have, right?
Hmm.
Because it was about the time, it was about the man, and blah blah blah. But
Yeah, no, exactly. Like a movie like this would never, it would almost like wouldn't play nowadays. Like you could,
exactly, right? Yeah.
you couldn't carry off half of the stuff in this movie nowadays. People would be like, "Oh, toxic masculinity."
I
And
know that's why I like it because yeah, this is like before that. This is still when masculinity was cool and like you know macho and like this weird feeling about it that I miss that this oomph that things used to have that I just don't feel that anymore because yeah, they think it's toxic masculinity, right?
yeah,
Which
exactly.
makes me mad. But you know, Marla, like you know, like this movie like carries on like he does the Fight Club. He's able to do this because he like yeah blackmails his boss and like you know Project Mayhem's going. They're blowing up buildings and you know, but you know he's still seeing Marla in between this. What did you think about Marla as a character?
Well, I mean, Helena Bonham Carter really isn't my top 10 actresses of all time. She kind of comes across as like, I don't know, kind of a try-hard as an actress. But I mean, like, she's an okay character in the
Totally.
movie. It's important that she's there to drive things through, but
Mhm.
uh, it didn't need to be her in that role. Like, it felt kind of phony. But then again, Meatloaf was in the movie, so I mean, like, really, a lot of my,
I
I
like
ha
Meatloaf though in the movie.
well, yeah, I guess just
I
the
don't know why.
another inexplicable part to this film where it's like, so why is Meatloaf in this movie? Like, I don't get it. Like, another case where you could have got someone else and it would have been fine. Like, it
Hmm.
didn't need to
I
be
didn't know it
him.
was him though at all, but like as a kid, I never thought
Mm-mm.
that was Meatloaf.
Oh no, come on. Like, what in 2000, what in the who in the world was thinking like, "Oh geez, look, it's Meatloaf in a
Yeah, no
movie.
one.
This is
So
the
maybe
best thing ever."
someone probably had like a job for him, you know, like the director had it in, you know, like oh, I got a job for you, Meatloaf.
Yeah, no, Meatloaf has naked pictures of someone in this movie, and he's like, "Okay, so I'm in the movie, right? Or the naked pictures come out?" So, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, Meatloaf. You're sure you're in the movie?" Because I can't see of any reason. Like, he was okay in it, but
I liked him actually. I really like Bob because like he Bob, you know, like he
yeah,
just has yeah, like he just yeah, he's a big crier. He's like his big personality. Like I said, I didn't know who he was as a kid. And, yeah, his little soft little voice. Like he just seems to be like this soft little Bob, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, Marla, she freaks me out. She always made me feel like sick. Like she freaks me out. Like all the heavy smoking and just everything about her freaks me out as a kid. And like she still creeps me out. Like there's just something about her that just like, oh, I don't know. She scares me.
Yeah, there's just an element to the character that's not believable. That's the problem. Like, it's
Hmm.
just I don't know. That's just me, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I think it might be some of the bias against Helena Bonham Carter that's
Yeah, I don't even know what
really.
she's from, but I always felt like yeah, she was like like comes off very strong and like, but she just actually creeps me out though. Like
Yeah.
she reminds me of like being dirty for real. Like
Oh no, yeah, that came across. Like, she really like there's a lot of scenes in there where you look at her and you think this person is filth. Like,
mhm.
this woman is not clean.
No, I know she's weird, but yeah, like I said, I don't mind her. Like I don't like her in the character, but I swear if it was someone else, I might hate them more. Like I think like she turns me off so much, but I feel like that's what they're kind of trying to go for.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, no, interesting. And then yeah, one of the interesting things at the end too, like you know, as we get closer to the end, you know, the driving scene when they're in the car, because like they get into a fight over something, right? That's after they beat that guy senseless, I think. I think
Um,
I
well,
think
they get in the fight in the car because the narrator doesn't feel like he's being involved enough he's kind of jealous of
but I think
Project
it's just
Mayhem.
after that fight too though with the Joker,
Oh, right.
whatever.
Yeah, 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 that's
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, no, yeah, he is jealous that he's not being filled in on much, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. He wants to be part of it. He doesn't feel like he feels like he's being cheated on by Project Mayhem.
Yeah, and he's in a car and he before this like his main job was working in an insurance company type thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then Tyler like is testing them all in the car. The people, there's two people in the back. Tyler's driving, which means the narrator's in the passenger seat, but the narrator's like the real person. But I guess he's fully in Tyler mode at that time.
Yeah.
But he's having a fight with himself, and those people they're just taking it in the back because they can't ask questions.
No, that's right.
And yeah, he's testing them. He gets them in a car accident because he's like, "Have you ever been in a car accident basically before?" And
Yeah.
it has some meaning and ironicness because he works for an insurance company, and he kind of like backfires on Tyler because Tyler's trying to test him in the way of like trying to like get rid of him or try to like make him even more scared. But then like the narrator ended up getting sympathy for the people and starts turning him even more against Tyler in a slight way, I'd say.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the extreme way that Tyler tries to get people to just come out of their box to like see what life is really like. It's too extreme, like in certain cases. That's
Totally. That's what I mean. Like, so it shifts him a little because then he's like, this is how like these people might have felt. He says something about that, and I feel like it is like Tyler's trying to make him more obedient, but it may have changed it like in another way,
Yeah.
in a weird way because he starts dissing himself, and then after the car accident, I can't really remember, but I remember he's back at the house, and Bob was the meatloaf guy who was in his support groups, who joined Fight Club, who joined Project Mayhem, but then he comes home, and isn't that guy's shot in the head or something, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's where all of a sudden all the pre-planning you can do doesn't work properly because one little mistake and people start getting shot. Things aren't things don't always go to plan. And
Yeah, and he's
after
with all those people in the room, like everyone in Project Mayhem's there, right?
Yeah, that's right. And then him getting shot, he becomes like the I don't know, like he's like some kind of biblical character after that because everyone starts saying his name as if like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, like in
That
Project Mayhem, when you die, you have a name, right? His name is Robert Paulson.
yeah, and all of a sudden it's like they're using that as some kind of mantra to chant over and over again. Like it's bizarre. It's
Yeah,
bizarre.
yeah. And after that scene, like he's like, I goes into his room or something, and then like the next day he wakes up, everyone's gone, isn't it? Like then he's trying to he doesn't know how long he's been asleep for or something.
Yeah, no, everything, Tyler's gone and he doesn't know where he is. And the house, I think, aren't there? No, yeah, everyone's gone.
Yeah, and he's like traveling to everywhere, but he doesn't know how much time he's kind of missed, right? And like I think the police called them like, don't travel anywhere. You're suspected in your own like explosion of your apartment, and but then he's on the Tyler trace going from city to city,
asking where he is and have
there's
you
people
seen him?
across the whole side of the world, and they're in a kitchen, and they're saying his name is Robert Paulson.
Yeah.
So
and calling him sir, like
yes, sir. This is a test, sir.
And it's like that's when things started. The realization started happening of like this is where the twist starts. The first inkling of the twist in the movie, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like I literally did not know what was happening.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, right up until that bartender guy with the head brace finally let the other shoe drop, and I was like, oh, like, and I realized what was happening.
Yeah, because that guy tells him like, well, you're Tyler. He's like, are you sure this is not a test, sir? And then he runs back to his hotel and he calls Marla up.
Yep.
And he's like, telling her, like, tell me, like, if we had sex or what. And she's like, what do you mean have sex or make love? And he's like, oh, God, what's my name or something, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, like, he's just as confused as he doesn't know what's going on. Like, he has no idea that neither do you as the viewer know what's going on at that point. Like, you may suspect it, but you don't know for sure.
Because you're like, how does that work? You're like, because there was two people.
Yeah, the whole time.
How it's shot, like no one knows it's two people. Like if you look at it, like she's never in the room with him, and then anyone else, like they don't like they think they're talking to two different people because that's how he is, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. The entire movie, like you can literally rewatch as if there's only one person.
Yeah, no, that's why this movie is better on the second viewing, and like I knew a lot coming into this movie when I saw it back in the day, and I loved every part, and I love when he's like in that hotel room after he talks to Marla, and I think Tyler says something like, you broke your promise, and he's just there, he just appeared in the room, and he's got like these round, weird sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just looking all stylish like normal, but.
Mhm.
And I guess they get into a back and forth, and Tyler really grills it into him that, like I'm your imaginary friend, basically.
Yeah, yeah. We all talk to ourselves, and and I'm you. It's like, wow. Like at first I was like, that can't be right. This can't be right. Like, if I think back, like there were two of them. Like people were talking to. Were they?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, those people, they were so like into, like, could tell that it was usually Tyler or him, but sometimes they didn't know, or they thought they were being tested, right? But most of those people could really tell if it was Tyler talking, because it's just like his body stance would probably change or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like he would just go into that zone, and then so he passes out from that, and then remember he freaks out, he wakes up, he's at that hotel, he leaves. I think he gets a whole bunch of like numbers from the hotel people, because he head back to his house after that, I'm pretty sure. And he like starts putting it together. He's calling places because he's trying to figure out something. Like he gets on the idea of like they're gonna do like blow up all the credit card company buildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's calling around and he's trying to figure out, like, tell people, and they're like, well, we got it all covered here, sir. We're solid. You know what I mean? Like, it's like everyone's in on it, like, at that point.
No, I know. There's nothing he can do. He's prevented himself from stopping it. Like, you said you would say that to us. You said you would say that. I mean, like, it's like he can't do anything at any point. Like, once the ball got rolling, he stopped any way of making it not happen. Like, he prevented it from them not completing their task.
Totally. Like, after the phone call, he like warns Marla, and then like he puts her on a bus, but like the bus, like you see people move in on her at the last second.
Right.
So, like, she's captured, and he tried to help her, and he's trying to tell her there's issues going on with him, and she like can't even believe him, right? Like
that's the thing, because she
doesn't know who she's getting. She sees a mixture of both of them, though, I find, as anyone actually in the whole movie. She sees the blend more,
Well, that's the thing. She only ever saw one person. She never saw two people. So he's trying to explain that he's like, she doesn't understand what he's talking about. Like,
Well, she says he is kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. But she still like sees him as one person still, right? Like Tyler. She thinks he's Tyler, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess like what? Then he goes to the police station and he's like trying to tell them like, like I'm a criminal mastermind. I got all these like things happening, and there's like some people that actually are like taking him serious that actually aren't in on it, apparently. And then he's got him in they got him in the police station interrogation room, and they're surrounding him. And then one of the guys that does kind of like isn't in on it leaves and like tells him to keep investigating. And Edward, like, I guess they say to him they're in on it, the two other detectives, and they tell him like, we got to take your balls, even you, if you try to screw with Project Mayhem. You said that, sir, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
And exactly. Like, and it's like about taking your manhood, taking your balls. The whole movie's about taking your balls, really.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Being like just it's being emasculated. The whole movie is like if you give up your focus, you're emasculated. You're not a true man if you go back on your plans, right?
Yeah, and they try to cut his balls off, hold him down on a table. He ends up getting one of the cops' guns, telling everyone to back off. And then I guess he runs to one of the credit buildings where the vans are, that have the dynamite in it, even though there's like 7 or 8 of them. I can't remember how many Tyler says, but he's trying to stop it, defuse at least one of them, right?
Yeah, that's
I
the thing.
love that little scene with Tyler, like at the van, and Tyler's not real, and like he's like, "You're shooting at your imaginary friend."
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And like you see the what do you call it? The camera footage, the surveillance
Hmm.
footage of him in
Which
the
is sure.
basement, and he's just talking to himself, and it's
Hmm.
like everything hits home, and
Hmm.
and I mean it even looks like he's in a fight with somebody else. Like when he's being
Yeah, getting
dragged, it
dragged.
looks
It's
like
like
he's being
someone's
dragged.
dragging him.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Tyler is dragging him. Like it's such a crazy mental illness that he has. It's like, yeah, there's a really another fucking, there's really another person there almost.
yeah, for sure.
It's to that extreme, and like, yeah, that whole part, like, I like the pickup there. Like that's one of my favorite parts of the movie when, like, Tyler's like, like he's trying to defuse the bomb, the narrator, and Tyler's like, I studied the other wires all day so you'll never get it, but he's doing
Hmm.
that thing where he's like, no, no, like, if you know it, I know it, and he's like, don't pull the green one, don't pull the green one.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just like that back and forth right there, that tension with them is like, I don't know, it's really good, I find.
Oh, it's really good. It's the pinnacle of the movie. It comes to that moment, where he's fighting with his own
Hmm.
psyche, right? It's what it comes down to, he doesn't even want to believe it's true. He still doesn't believe it's true, You're shooting at your imaginary friend.
I know, yeah, Tyler's still there, and like, yeah, Tyler throws him down the steps and like like steps on his knee. Somehow he hurts his
Hmm.
knee, and then like, yeah, then Tyler has him upstairs in one of the buildings so they can have a view of all the other credit buildings going to be blown up, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And Tyler's just standing around in that shirt, and that shirt's like that he's wearing, that tank top actually is a whole bunch of porn pictures because
Yeah.
place the porn in there or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So it's
sure.
like pornographic, and then yeah, what's his name's in the chair. Tyler has a gun at first, and then like what's his name starts cluing in like with the green cable that, well, if that gun's in your hand, then that gun's actually in my hand, and
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
gun appears in his hand. I really like that part.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It is the and it's another self-aware part where like it's reshot from the beginning.
Yeah,
So, the beginning is
this is the
like,
beginning of the movie.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like they even Tyler mentions that he's has flashback humor because the film's the scene's reshot and the dialogue is slightly changed to make it so that it's contemporary to the end of the film instead of being at the beginning of the film like how it was at the beginning. So it was like it was really well done. Like you really, they didn't just re-show the scene, they reshot the scene. So it was like it was very, I really enjoyed that. Like I said, this it every it, the last third of the movie was just brilliant for me. Like I loved it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what I like more. It's so tough to say, like the beginning or the end. I just like, I do like it as a whole because you can't have one part without the
Well,
other,
no,
and
no, for sure, for sure. And I mean, like
but
in a
it does
rewatch,
pick up.
if I rewatch this movie in a few years, like I will be able to appreciate all of the different parts of it. Like I'll watch the beginning more closely now than I did when I watched it this time because I know what's going to happen. So I can,
Hmm.
you know,
The Marla stuff always drags for me, like when they're in the house, and
oh yeah.
yeah, I always think that Marla part. But yeah, this last little part, it doesn't really make too much sense. Like, he has the gun, and like, he can't save the other buildings. None of the people are inside because it's all their people. So the
Yeah.
janitors and all that, they'll leave, and these credit buildings can collapse. And of course, yeah, how he has the gun though, he puts the gun to, like, the narrator puts it to his own head, right? And he's like, I'm
Hmm.
putting it to our head, Tyler. And Tyler's like, and then yeah, I guess he like shoots through his mouth, through side of his jaw, but that
Yeah.
ends up killing Tyler fully. I don't really understand. I don't know if that's explained in the book more, but I always found that very strange because he only shot the side of his mouth out, but then what's his name has a bullet hole in the back of his head.
Yeah, yeah, it was one of those things where it's like maybe he just conceptually shot Tyler, like he believed that he was killing him. So if you
Mm-hmm.
do that, like because he was only in his head anyway, maybe,
Mm-hmm. I know, I do understand that part, and I always thought that too. But it just, for me, like, it still feels like a bit of reaching for it to be like right behind his head. But yeah, I know, I get it. Like, because he fully thought, like, if I do this, I shoot myself. Maybe he meant to shoot himself too, all the way, but it kind of went through the side, and then
Mhm.
it just killed Tyler because he believed it so hard, right? Is what
Yeah,
you're saying?
that's the only explanation I can come up
Mhm.
with on that one.
Got some gauze. But yeah, he's like, yeah, it's funny because now all these people come up and like they still kind of think it's the old Tyler though. He kind of
Hmm.
plays it off as the old Tyler in a weird way at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
Get some gauze and like get everyone together.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And Marla comes up. They have Marla hostage. Now he's just like, leave her, like she's nothing actually, right? Like they
Mhm.
just they just listen immediately.
Yeah, I
And
know.
then, of course, we have the towers collapse in a demolition style and all that, which, before 9/11, it was just touchy subject to play this movie on TV after.
I guess so. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was.
It went over well at the time, I would imagine.
Hmm. Yeah, so. But yeah, the movie as a whole, there's, like I said, there's so many layers on masculinity and people and, capitalistic things. And you know what I mean? There's
Oh,
so much to the movie.
oh yeah. There's really, I mean, like the movie is 2 hours, like what, 20 minutes or whatever. So they cram a lot into that 2 hours and 20 minutes, and
Mhm.
there's like it's very dialogue driven, but it's very like I love the way it's shot too. Like at
Mhm.
first I
Well,
was
what's
just
his name is amazing. That's one of my favorite directors. What's his name? David Finch or whatever.
Mhm.
He did Aliens 3. He's done other things. I know people don't really like Aliens 3, but Panic Room, like he knows how to shoot. Oh, Seven, that movie Seven,
Right. Oh, okay.
and that had Brad Pitt in it too, right? So
Yes, and I
yeah,
have seen that, believe it or not. So
yeah. But yeah, so yeah, great direction. The movie's shot well. Of course, some of the CGI that's still in the movie doesn't hold up, but I mean, it's old.
well, what, the Penguin?
Well, yeah, the penguin, the stuff exploding.
Well, I mean, 90s action movies had just as good of,
Yeah,
I was fine. I was
horrible.
okay
But
with it. The Penguin was like, I was just like, wow, we've come a long way in CG because,
yeah,
you could have had a dude in a suit and it would have been more convincing.
yeah. Even like some of that stuff when they're like, the air pressor kicked on and they're showing the 3D effect of the room with the gas filling up is kind of.
Well, yeah, I guess. I was okay with it, like I said, because like I'm contemporary to when this movie was new. So when I see that stuff, I'm like, well, I guess that's all right. That could it's not, you know, it's not that bad, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
it is, but it
yeah,
isn't.
yeah. It's for me. It's for some reason it does pull me out a bit more though now. Like just because I'm like it is a little more jarring because like I used to think it looked a lot better, but it's just because I seen the movie for like 20 years I transitioned and like yeah I loved it like because I held on to some aspects of like understanding genders, male and female stuff. So it impacted me a lot then. And yeah, the more I watch it now, I find myself relating to other things, but they're remembering other things. So it's like, yeah, very touching, weird movie when you watch it at different times and in life and with like how your perspective on things is.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, but I still love it. Like, it's probably not like I used to put it up there with top favorite movies of all time, and it's one of the biggest impact movies on my life because, like I said, friends showed it to me, and it inspired me to like make films, make movies, do a whole bunch of stuff. I just thought, I mean, yeah, messed up my life a little over it, but yeah, no, it's just like one of those things where it's good still. Still. And like I heard the book's really good. Would you ever check out a book, or are you just kind of not into
Oh,
that? Or
well, no, for sure. I mean, I would if that's the thing. Like right now, reading is not really even a possibility because I need to spend all the time that I'm not at work trying to like live my life. But like
hmm
relaxing book read for sure. If I found that book in a thrift store, I would easily buy it.
yeah, exactly. Thrift
And
store.
yeah, I mean, that would be it would be fun knowing what I know about the movie. Reading the book would be that's something that I would do.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, the more I think they play a little more on the gayer side on the books, but that's interesting in a weird way. I don't know. Just yeah, the movie as a whole, though, I take away from it. I still like it. Watched it a few years ago. I watched it now, so it's still a movie I will watch from time to time. And yeah, we could go off and off on it, but I mean, we've covered quite a bit of it. But any last kind of words or
Well,
thoughts?
I mean, like the fact that I never
Sure.
saw it until now, it's kind of, you know, like at the time, if I had to watch this back then, I was such a snob. I I wouldn't have appreciated it as much as I appreciated it now. And the fact that I've gone 20 years without knowing anything about this movie, it's awesome. Like
Jackson's unheard of.
I'm really enjoying watching movies that I've never seen before that were like big hits and I just never bothered with them. Like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's why this works.